All right, now let's take a look at the local dailies here. I've got two newspapers, The Star and the Daily Nation. Let me start with the Star newspaper. On the front page, Kalonzo refers to Uhuru case in Sonko defense. Wiper Boss says that though removed, Mike Sonko hasn't exhausted appeals. That is, he was citing President Kenyatta, Ruto, who ran in 2013 despite ICC charges. Sonko was at the IEBC Dispute Committee yesterday for the hearing of his case at the Milimani Law Court. Rungai woman recounts her ordeal of horror, and so far police say that they have arrested two suspects. One of them is the M-Pesa attendant where 240,000 shillings was sent, and the person who withdrew the money. So two suspects are in police custody. Only 608,000 youths to benefit from Kazi Mtaani Phase 3. That is, this comes after 1.2 million youths registered for the program last November. So Kazi Mtaani is a national initiative launched in April 2030 to cushion the most vulnerable but able-bodied citizens. Okay. State borrows 3 billion shillings per day as Senate gives blank check for more. The government borrowed an average of 3 billion shillings per day in the last 1 year to push Kenya's debt portfolio to 8.4 trillion shillings. That is according to a new report. Now, the disclosure comes as the Senate is expected on Wednesday, that is today, to stamp the National Assembly's approval of the National Treasury's bid to increase the debt ceiling to 10 trillion shillings. All right. So that story of Kalonzo Musyoka, who says that Uhuru to reign with the ICC cases, so Sonko should contest. The IEBC Dispute Resolution Committee will hear the matter today. So it's a do or die day for Governor Sonko. Okay, so let me take a break on that and hand it over to Doreen. Then I'll come back with the Daily Nation. Doreen.
Most costly campaigns yet. That is what the People Daily is holding for you this Wednesday morning, just highlighting how politicians are using money for these campaigns and how they are splashing cash on branding to entice voters. This is even after initially IEBC had capped presidential campaign spending in the August general election to at least 4.4 billion, while the spending limits for governorship, senatorial and women representative seats had been capped on a county-by-county basis, ranging from between 21.9 million to 117.3 million. But the National Assembly rejected this proposal by the IEBC, and so IEBC was forced in a gazette notice to revoke this early notification on campaign contribution and spending limits by these politicians for this particular elections. So basically just giving politicians a blank check to spend whatever it is they can be able to spend in this campaign. And just going by this particular article, it shows how these politicians are defying hard economic times to pump billions of shillings in the campaigns, ranging between not even actually between over 5 million in just in actually over 1.25 million in a single week in terms of campaigns. So if you do the math, you can imagine how much that would cost a single politician in a month. So away from that, D-Day as Electoral Body Tribunal now gives the verdict on Igathe as well as Kangata case. These are the gubernatorial candidates for both Nairobi and Murang'a County. The dispute tribunal now is set to give a ruling on these two leaders following the complaints that had been given in respect to them, particularly when it comes to Igathe. It said that he is being accused of being unfit to hold public office following his resignation in 2018 after his fallout with the then Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko. When it comes to Irungu Kangata, he's being accused of asking the returning officer to change the date of presenting his nomination papers to enable him confirm whether his running mate Winnie had resigned from her job on time. Remember that it was required for those that were seeking to vie for elective positions and were working in public office had had been given a specific timeline in which they were supposed to resign, but there had been issues when it came to Kang'ata's running mate in respect to her resigning on time, and so now he's being accused of averting the dates just to favor him and his running mate. And so lastly, the school calendar may be adjusted over elections, whereby it is now scheduled to start 2 days after that. Is the school calendar is now scheduled to start 2 days after the general election. So in essence, just it's starting on August 11th, which was not the case, but because of elections, now it is set to be so. And so now what is happening is that most learning institutions now have adjusted their learning programs accordingly to fit within the schedules and the timelines, because at the end of the day, the school calendar will just be adjusted because of these elections. Regina.
Well, a sneak peek of the paper that I have this morning being the Standard. Tough times ahead as petrol hits 160 a litre. That is after the review by EPRA yesterday there. This is definitely going to have a ripple effect on our socio-economic activities as a country. So you need to tighten that already tight belt. Now, in a world news is that UK asylum seekers fly to Rwanda, and unconfirmed reports from our reporters and persons in Rwanda, it emerges that this particular flight has been banned, or rather denied entry into Rwanda. So what next for these asylum seekers from the UK? We'll be keeping tabs on that. And also when it comes to making food available at your table, remember we value maize and see it as a staple crop. Now there is a looming food crisis as prices of maize go up. Big read on this particular issue this morning, being the 15th of June 2022, with 54 days to go. Warning signs of a supreme battle. The scribe opts to go with his kicker, and I'm going to read it as is. Leading presidential contenders are flagging issues that compromise a free and fair poll, and are actively documenting them in what is seen as gathering as the evidence that could come in handy if they find themselves challenging the outcome at the Supreme Court. Quote unquote here is Deputy President William Ruto and Azimio la Umoja Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga seem to be preparing grounds for challenging the results. Both teams have raised issues that could be pertinent in the case, in case they find themselves at the Supreme Court seeking to overturn the presidential elections. We have been through this even in 2017, where we made history there by having the presidential polls nullified there. Now, one of the strategies employed by both presidential teams has been documenting the shortcomings and breaches that are thought or could compromise the electoral process. On the other hand, IEBC continuing to maintain that they are ready and willing to conduct a transparent election there, and a fair one for that matter. Now, those issues raised so far are that IEBC's preparedness, including the state of technology deployment in the results transmission, involvement of state officers and institutions in partisan politics as well as political violence. I'm sure this is a conversation that is going to continue running over, especially among our guests on Eye on Politics with Victor, just looking at, IEBC and where it finds itself at the crux of all this, with contenders now throwing spanners into the works into its duty there. Well, there's also a detailed manifesto analysis by Dennis Kabara. So you can get your copy. Remember, further details are available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. I wish you a great viewing ahead and leave you in the capable hands of my colleagues Victor Law as well as Traffic Marshal A1 Doreen Arange. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a pleasant day.
All right. Fair enough. Let's take a look at what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. In 100 days, that's what's on the front page. In 100 days, from a hustler fund to Babacare, livestock insurance and the automation of revenue collection. William Ruto and Raila Odinga are promising revolutionary economic and social protection measures in their first 100 days in office that, in their audacity of hope, look good on paper and have the potential to change for the better of livelihoods of Kenyans. So that's from the front page, and we have got a myriad of issues that the two gentlemen are campaigning on. You can take a look at that story. Pain at the pump, fuel prices hit record highs in latest review. Of course, that has also been covered extensively on our bulletin there and other pages. 240,000 shillings withdrawal that gave way Rongai robbery prime suspect. And on the third page here, police actually camped at the home of the couple where that robbery took place over the weekend, and now 6 men, including one detective suspect, is a rogue police officer who took part in the robbery. Police are still investigating that case. Ruto dismisses fake polls, vows to win in the first round. He says that he has the numbers to be the ODM leader decisively. He was speaking yesterday at his current residence where he met leaders from the Kibera and part of Nairobi to drum up his support. I'll bring water to Ukambani, says Raila. That he said yesterday in Makueni, in Kibwezi in Makueni County, and as he pledges mega water projects as he seeks to boost his chances of bagging the 2.7 million votes in the region. All right, the Kalonzo story is also featured here. Kalonzo backs Sonko in IEBC case. He says that Wiper Party has lodged a complaint protesting the decision to bar its candidate from the Mombasa governor race. As we said earlier, Sonko will know his fate today. Lastly, petitioners want Ndeti's clearance for poll repealed. Petitioners want IEBC to allow them to scrutinize former MPs' academic papers. That is according to Ndeti through her lawyers, Eunice Lumalas and Ochieng Oginga, who asked the tribunal to dismiss the complaint. So it's still a busy day at the IEBC tribunal sitting at the Milimani Law Court, which should be running for the next few days, as most of the candidates will be knowing their fate day by day. Doreen.
And look at that story on the most costly campaign yet, and how politicians are really just defying the hard economic times. We've just talked about the fuel price increase, talked about hard economic time, cost of livings, but then how are our politicians really getting all this money to be spent on the campaign trail? Now, listen to this. So, from hiring 1 million shillings a day helicopter to erecting campaign billboards for days on end and leasing top-of-range vehicles, politicians are obviously defying the hard economic times just for the purpose of campaign and to entice their voters ahead of the August 9th general elections. So going by this specific article shows that bold and deep-pocketed politicians are already splurging about 1.25 million per week, which is equivalent to 5 million monthly. This is only just for a 30 seconds of political advertisements on prime time TV. For a billboard on a highway sets them back at 150 shillings per month, and some governor candidates have up to 10 such billboards. So if a single governor has over 10 billboards in different parts of the country, and a single one just in a specific area costs about 150,000 per month. I mean, just for a month, and some end up having this for more than a month, like 2 or 3 in more than one county. You can imagine the kind of millions and billions that this particular person ends up spending on the campaign trail. Now, continuing with this article just shows that that's at various locations within the counties, and again for presidential candidates have as many in nearly every county. Again, just going to show you how much these leaders are spending just for the purpose of enticing their voters ahead of this general elections. Now, again, remember that this also came at a time when IEBC had capped the amount that politicians were to spend on the campaign trail, but the National Assembly rejected that, and so it forced IEBC to go back to the drawing board and revoke that notice, hence allowing politicians to spend as much as they want on the campaign trail. Lastly, also, let's look at this story on the Kazi Mtaani, whereby now the Transport Cabinet Secretary, that is CS Macharia, is now ravishing the claims as it had been put by some politicians, citing the fact that the ministry was planning to slash the wages for the workers as well as supervisors in this Kazi Mtaani program. And so in a statement, the CS said that the payment will remain the same even as they continue with in the third phase of this program. But that so far they've done the first and the second phase, and now they are thinking of getting into the third phase. This will run again for the next 3 months. So if this wages in a way they are cut out is actually wages for the youth under the program are at 455 per day for workers and 505 per day for supervisors. And according to the transport CS, he says that this is going to remain as is and nothing is going to change for both the workers and the supervisors. And that particular story puts a cap on what we had in store for you on in the headlines, particularly just exploring what the different dailies are holding for you this morning. But Good Morning Kenya still continues. We have a lot in store for you in terms of our various conversations slated for you this Wednesday morning. Stay put.
All right, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll be having that discussion with Paul Ilado, who sits at the Presidential Debate Secretariat. That is an interview that you don't want to miss. Shortly after this break.